really hungry.
Oh, hello everyone. My name is Bryce Raven, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how to make some spaghetti and meatballs. So here's the first thing you're going to have to do. First thing you're going to do is you're going to sanitize your kitchen, which I have already done. The reason why you want to sanitize your kitchen is because you want to make sure it's all clear of bacteria so you do not contaminate or potentially make people sick. That's number one. Number two, here's the thing, is I've been making spaghetti for a long time, and I've always made it different every time. So you know what? I'm going to teach you a pretty simple way of how to make spaghetti. And it starts with having a stove, some pots and pans, which I already have, and the ingredients. And the ingredients you're going to need are going to be some spaghetti, some pasta sauce. Now, if you want to flavor it up, that's all you need to do. And the thing is that you're also going to need a strainer for the aftermath because you're going to have to strain your noodles out. So here's the first step of what you want to do. So what you want to do first is you want to take your pot and you want to fill it with water. Fill it up, about 3/4 of the way because you want to get a lot of water in there so it has a lot of time to boil because you know what, the water goes down when you're boiling. So here we are, we're going to fill this up. Yeah, but it takes a little bit, so you know what. You gotta think to yourself. You gotta have some fun with this. Yep, it's gonna fill. It's gonna fill up. So you gotta have fun with making food because guess what? Making food is supposed to be fun. So here, we filled up the pot. Next step you're gonna do is you're gonna have to turn on your stove, your burner to high, or whatever the highest setting is. And then for the saucepan, I have a lid for it because it can get a little bit messy. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna do that. And you're gonna take it off, you're gonna set it at 6. You're gonna take your pasta sauce, you're gonna open it up, and then what you're gonna do is you're going to dump it in the pan. And then when you dump it into the pan, you're just gonna let it cook for a second. You're gonna let it not cook, you're just going to let it get into the pan so you can start letting it cook. And then we're gonna put that to the side because we're done with it. Few fun facts about pasta is it was actually invented back in the 1st century BC, and it was invented back in Italy, and it's one of the best foods of all time, in my opinion at least. So you know what? Make this much pasta, and the thing about pasta is it's very filling, and it's also, you're gonna have leftovers every single time you make pasta because sometimes you make a little bit too much. You always want to make a little bit too much just in case, you get a little bit more hungry. Another thing about pasta, and I got that from the historyofspaghetti.com. If you ever want to go check that out, let me know, and the link should be in the description. Also, with this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you also where I got this recipe from. And this is a recipe that I use sometimes, but you know what? I usually just do it my way. And today we're just going to do it my way. But if you want a recipe, go to delish.com, and you can use that recipe as well. It's about spaghetti and meatballs. So next step we're going to do is we're going to grab out some meatballs. I'm using frozen meatballs because it's really all I can do at the moment. And we're going to take out some frozen meatballs. We're going to throw them. I'm going to take these. I'm going to throw them on the plate. About 10 or so. And what you want to do with these 10 meatballs, you're going to spread them out on the plate. It doesn't have to look fashionable. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to have some fun. And this is a step-by-step process of how to do this. And this is the best way to do it because guess what? This is the best pasta you're ever going to have. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to put them in the microwave for about 2 minutes. Make sure that they get very nice and warm, and also heat it up enough so it's not frozen, so we can just throw them in the sauce and let them cook with the sauce. This is how the setup should look. You should have your sauce cooking right here. You should have your pasta, the water boiling right here. And when it starts really boiling, you'll know. You'll know when it starts boiling. And so what we're going to do is we're going to lid this up and we're going to throw it on the sauce because the sauce is going to start getting really hot. So what you want to do before you put the lid on, because even though I put the lid on, you want to stir up the sauce a little bit. You want to get it going because guess what? You got to get it going. It's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun time. And the thing is that this is how it's going to be done. You're gonna put the sauce into the pan, and then you're gonna wait for the water to heat up. When you're waiting for the water to heat up, you know what? You can do whatever you want. So right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the lid off. We're gonna put a little bit of Italian seasoning onto this here there sauce. And when we do that, we're gonna stir it up as well, because guess what? That's the only way it's going to get in there. That's the way we're gonna cook it. And the reason I only did one thing of sauce is because I'm gonna end up with leftovers, so we gotta do it this way. And the best thing about cooking, especially spaghetti, is you're gonna have a little bit of downtime. Which what you can do is you can drink on your drink. Right here we got some strawberry lemonade. Oh, the most important step before you start cooking, which I did not do, and which I'm doing now. You gotta wash your hands. And when you wash your hands, wash it for 20 seconds, get in between your fingers and in your fingernails, because you know what, there's bacteria everywhere on your hands. So you want to use if you want to wash your hands just before you start cooking, which I should have done before, but you know what, I did not. And use paper towels. Use paper towels because after every use, they're a one-time use, and you can just throw them in the trash right after. And the best thing about, the reason why you want to use paper towels, like I said, they're a one-time use. When you use a dish towel, there's bacteria that lasts on that for a long time, so you want to use a paper towel. So now, our meatballs are done in the microwave. So what you're going to do with these meatballs is you're just going to turn down the sauce a little bit because it's starting to bubble a little bit. You're going to take the meatballs, you're just going to throw them into the sauce. I'm going to put this plate in the sink because we're not using it anymore. Put some water on it. And then with the sauce, because the meatballs were just added in, you want to mix them in. You want to mix in these meatballs, get them all good and ready. Get them all in there so they can cook with the sauce, marinate and get that taste in them. Now we're gonna let the sauce cook for a little bit and just be sure that it's gonna be all right. So we see that the water is starting to boil a little bit. I'll show you what this looks like. And the thing is that we got a little bit of sauce on the stove. So when you get a little mess on the stove, you know what? Get it while you can. Just get it right in the beginning. Wipe it right off. It comes right off. Still clean. Still able to use. Best thing about pasta, it's very filling, like I said at the beginning. That's the best part. So with this, we're gonna let the sauce cook. This is about what the water should look like. If you want it to cook a little bit faster and you want it to boil a little bit faster, use a little bit of salt. This is what the sauce should look like. So what we're gonna do now, since the water is pretty much boiling, we're gonna take our noodles, open them up. We're gonna use a whole box. We're gonna use a whole box of noodles. We're gonna take a little bit at a time. We're gonna break them up and we're gonna throw them in. The reason why we wanna break them up and we're gonna throw them in because we wanna get as much out of this as possible. And I'm sorry, but if you don't have a big pot, then it's not gonna work. Make sure you break it above the pan as well. And then when you're done, you want to mix it in. Make sure it gets all in the water. Make sure it gets all in the water. Make sure it's all in there. And then the water should be boiling. And also so the boiling effect, you want to turn on the fan on your microwave if you have an over oven fan. But since that creates a lot of noise, we're going to turn it off. In conclusion, here's what you want to do. So when you're cooking spaghetti, you want to get some water in a pan, but before we do all of this stuff, you want to wash your hands and you want to make sure the kitchen is sanitized because we want to make sure to get rid of any bacteria that's in the kitchen on your hands. Does not matter. And then we're going to take the pot off the stove. We're gonna fill it with water, put it back on, throw some sauce in the pan. We're gonna turn on the stove as well, turn on the stove for about 5 or 6, so medium or 6 on my stove for the sauce, and then we're gonna do it on high for the noodles, just so the water can get boiling and the noodles can cook at a good rate. You're going to want to have the noodles in there for about 6 to 8 minutes. That'll ensure that it'll get your noodles cooked thoroughly, but not so thoroughly that they taste like a little bit grainy. And then at the last step that you're going to do, you're going to strain the noodles, which I'm not going to show you in this video, but you know what, that's what